Evil on chains, backed by his baying hound. The coffin diners were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker Five. They played the Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They played. I didn't do that on purpose. It happened. So it must have been something that the universe wanted me to play. Get our minds off of whatever's going on. Now listen, this is Trans Guru Live, and the only thing I can say is that there's supposed to be other people here, and I don't know that they're going to show up. So it might just be me, and I don't really know what to talk about. But if people have questions, and if nobody signs in, then it was just, I don't know, a different type of Zoom meeting than we normally do. But it's all good, and with that being said, I'm trying to get to where I can read what's going on with people writing in easily. And I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry. Hi, Gregory. Or is that Georgie? Oh, Georgie. How you doing, sister? Long time no see. This is supposed to be real simple to do, and why is it difficult? I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying, and hopefully it will bring it up where I can read it. Because the way it is now, I really can't read anything, but it won't show it on my computer when I'm live. Isn't that weird? I'm sorry I'm babbling, and hi, Alex. I don't know, it says bring them on camera. I'm going to try that. I'm sorry for this angle. I couldn't do it on my computer that I normally do. And so it doesn't look real good, but anyway. Well, Georgie, if you would join in, I sent you an invite, then it would be two of us up here and not just one of us. I guess not, huh? Just be that way, Georgie. What can I talk about? Nobody's writing in any questions, and I'm trying to read what everybody's got going on. Ellen, I'm trying to invite you to come on the camera if you want. I sent an invite. Can't bring, on camera. Can't join at this time. I don't do live shows anymore. Georgie, you are so full of it. I can't believe that you can't do a live show. I'm up. You're going to leave me out here, a sister. You're going to leave me out here all by myself to have to fend by myself. What a friend. What an actual friend. You think somebody that you allowed them to take you to a colonoscopy would be thankful, but no, not Georgie. Actually, I guess I was the one that was thankful. Thank you, Georgie. Anyway, I'm talking about stupid stuff here because nobody's written in anything that they want me to talk about. Listen, I have so many things that I can talk about on Trans Gurus. I don't know if people ever read the posts, but we have some of them that have between, well, some might only have 20 answers, but some of them have 200, 300. Some have 120, and they happen really quick. And if you read some of these, you got to question where people's heads are at. You got to question, what are they thinking about? You got to question, like, I don't think that way, and I've never thought that way, but maybe their way is not a bad way of thinking. That, you know, I mean, it's like you can become I'm sorry, somebody texted something in, and I think it's Georgie, and I think she's going to come on camera. Anyway, I forgot the hell I was talking about. Oh, yeah. You know, people have different opinions, and with that being said, just because I never thought about it that way, or I looked at a situation that way, it doesn't necessarily mean that way is right or wrong, because all our situations are up to us as individuals. The way we want to see things is the way we can project it to the world. We can take whatever's out there and we can see it positively, negatively. And if it's negative, what's the positive that can come of it? What's the lesson I can learn? I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if your frame of mind and your thinking is from a positive place, what happens is that the universe vibrates back to you in a positive way. And just so everybody knows, I've been doing voice things, my voice is terrible tonight because I'm going to, but they taught me that if I do my fingers every time I say a word, I can't talk too fast because my fingers can't keep up to me talking. But anyway, and it's a better way, and the resonance through the front of the mouth, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I've just grown so much as a person, because for so long I can look one way, but what came out of my mouth wasn't necessarily. When I was younger, my voice was good, and I'm not trying to get too hung up, and people that know me, been on here, I wasn't on hormones for like 25, 30 years, and I broke, was it 6 bones in 4 weeks, and the doctor said, you need to go on hormones, it's your problem. So I went on hormones, and they put me on testosterone. It fucked me up. The orgasms were good, but it fucked me up. And what's the positive to it? It enabled me to be able to orgasm much easier. That's something I couldn't do. And I'll share that. It's another thought for a lot of post-op trans women. If they're having a hard time having an orgasm, you have to understand something. A beer a day is okay, a case isn't, okay? So with that being said, to do a little bit of testosterone, right now I do, my testosterone is at 50. It used to, no, at 40. It used to be at 10. My, anyway, bottom line is, my testosterone going from 10 to 40 is enhanced my, well, we can say my sex drive, of course, but it also, I'm a lot more active, and I'm working out, and I'm losing weight, and I'm doing all these things, and it's all since I made that change on the hormones. But my point is, years ago I was on a lot of testosterone. And I had transitioned before, so I didn't get hair growth. It didn't come back because I had electrolysis and had it all removed. But anyway, it was still mentally and all the other stuff. I did it for 4 years, so I mean, it wasn't like I came out of the gate and said, this is hell. I was breaking bones, and that was a lot better than breaking bones. And after, like 4 years or whatever, I was like, I can't do this shit no more. And I went back on estrogen, and I found out estrogen builds bones better than testosterone. So I should have been on estrogen all along. But, see, in 1990, when I went to a doctor's office for hormones, when the doctor, I was only 165 pounds and I looked real good. I was a lot younger. And when he found out I was trans, he told me to get the fuck out of his office. And that was his exact language. I mean, he didn't beat around the bush. He said, get the fuck out of my office. and I had paid him money. He didn't give me back my money. He wanted me out of his office. In 1991, I went to another endocrinologist to get hormones, and because I moved from Tampa to here, and Tampa was no problem. I mean, I had my gyno, I had my hormone person, I had my, I had everything that I needed. Life was perfect, and I had already had my SRS surgery prior to that. So, I mean, all those pieces were good, but when I came back here to Miami, it was a different atmosphere, and a lot of these people that talk about some of the trauma they've done with, well, what do you think it is? You go in a doctor's office, and when I find out you're trans, prior to that, they have no problem on anything, but you're trans? The second doctor told me to please leave his office. He didn't use the F word. He was polite. He says, can you please leave my office now? And, it was very upsetting, but, I guess I look back on life, and maybe they thought trans, AIDS, maybe I had AIDS, and I was in their office, and back then they didn't know if the mosquito bit you and then bit them if they could get AIDS. Listen, bottom line is I could be all upset, and I could sit here and blah, go on all this shit, but, that's the curveballs that life threw me, and back then it wasn't as easy as it is today. You can go to Planned Parenthood with no letter and get hormones. So what I'm saying is that in my day, it wasn't easy to do that, and I wasn't going to do black market. So I don't know. I guess I could have went back and forth to Tampa. I never really thought about that. That's a long trip just to go to a doctor to get your hormones. Anyway, my point is, I went on testosterone, and the positive part of it is that it really made having an orgasm much easier. And post-op girls that are having a hard time, you don't have to do a ton of it, do a little bit of it, and it will increase your ability to have that orgasm. And if that's what happens, then that's a win-win. And it doesn't, like I said, you can do a beer, you can do a case. That doesn't mean if you're doing testosterone, you got to load up on it. I took my testosterone from 10 up to 40, and 40 is still low, but when I'm saying 40 in it, my life is on such a better plane. And if you go to, and just so you know, if you were cis female, and you went to a doctor that does bioidentical hormones, she would want to see your testosterone somewheres around 50, because a 30-year-old woman, her testosterone level usually is somewheres around 50 when they have, or maybe it's 20s. I don't really know. When they have their sex drive is some of its strongest peaks. I guess the testosterone is usually around 50, and then your hormones, I don't know, 350 or a little more, 400 or something when you're that age, younger. And a 35-year-old, I think it's around 300 to 325 is what a 35-year-old. So mine right now, at my age, is at the level of a 35-year-old. And my life is incredible because my hormones are balanced. And a lot of us don't understand balance. And listen, I went 20-some years without hormones. I mean, come on. I was out of balance, okay? I learned, and I'm talking to you about basically things that I've learned and I've been through and I've experienced. And just because the other trans gurus people couldn't show up, and look at how fast I'm talking. I need to calm down. I need to work on projecting my voice through the front of my mouth, and I need to take my time when I speak. See, I'm talking fast, I'm talking loud. But anyway, I just need to relax. And when you talk, you should breathe from your stomach, pushing the air out. If you take a deep breath, my chest used to go up. But that isn't the way it's supposed to be. Your stomach's supposed to go out when you take a deep breath. You should try that out and see. I don't know. Anyway, I'll tell you another real one. Sometimes when you get stuff in your throat and you got to cough it up, if you stick your tongue between your teeth and then swallow 3 times, you should try it. It's not easy. You think, 3 times, yeah. And the first one goes easy. The second one is not as easy, and the third one is very interesting. because it just doesn't happen. Anyway, but it clears your throat better than any other way. And I know I'm all over the place between hormones and voice, but this is transgender talk, and just because I'm the only one here doesn't mean I can't talk about transgender issues, and that's what I'm trying to talk about. I might be all over the place, and my voice might be terrible tonight, and I don't really care because I don't feel pressure. I just want to be able to deliver in a quality way as a representative of trans gurus, no different than when the whole group is here. And you got to think about the diversity that we have in our group. You got Morgan, trans man, but it's not, you know, in life you have followers and you have leaders, you have go-getters, you have people that are just up there on a pedestal. Well, Morgan has achieved so much and is so involved and does so much for the community. And he's smart, knowledgeable, and he's got a head on his shoulders that when he talks, you can listen. That's pretty good. We got Jimmy Shannon, very, very successful person that's in tune with the universe. She talks about all this vibration stuff, but I'm going to tell you, vibration shit is real. You know, I don't talk about it like Jimmy does, but she is right on, and she puts out what she lets into her temple, her aura, her cell is only positive, and she determines the outcome, and whatever the universe throws at her, she's able to objectively look at it because she's centered and because she has that centeredness. And the only thing she feeds her brain and her mind is not TV, it's things like Talk TED. I can name 100 of them, I don't even remember them. She sends them to me all the time, and I watch them on YouTube, and I actually do watch them, and they're good. But when you fill your brain with positive stuff, what comes out is positive. How you interpret stuff is the way it comes out. And Shannon has had to overcome a lot of obstacles, and she has. And that's the whole point I'm trying to say, is that she's not a talker, she's a doer. And she'll never talk about all her accomplishments, let me tell you. She's done a lot, and going all the way back to the Marines and forward and all along in her journey. And she's been like a superstar. And we're fortunate enough to have her on the group because there's a lot of people that relate to Jimmy. Shannon, I mean, they're very similar in how they think, just like trans men. I can't see how any trans man couldn't look up to Morgan and say, Morgan, wow, I aspire to be like you. And then Raji, come on. I'm not putting Ella for last. That is not the intention. Raji, I probably should have went first, because Raji is probably the most famous person that we know, and to have her on our panel, I mean, this is a woman that's given her whole life to the trans community to help people. I mean, listen, that's some really, really powerful stuff to dedicate your life. Think about all of us in our lives. What have we done? Well, I'm doing Trans Gurus now, and I've done things, but what I'm saying is on the level of what I'm doing. But I saw the first episode of this season of Jazz, and it shows like Jazz when she was like 8 years old or something, and there's Raji. There she is. I mean, Raji has been around the trans community and been on, I don't know, like 50 TV shows. She's known all over the world, South America, all these places. She's always being asked to be in this program and that program. We're fortunate that when Raj speaks, there's a lot of people that totally can relate to her. But not only that, there's wisdom, there's pain. You know, when I told you about the doctors kicking me out, no, Raj had all that same shit. She went through it all. See, the difference between me and Raj was Raj got beat up, picked on, and everything her whole life. Now, I got beat up and picked on until I was about 13 years old, maybe 12. And I used to have this one guy, Max, that used to pick on me. I still remember his name. And for 3 years, he used to go through my book bag every day, and he used to, just bully me. Well, on the 4th year, when he came up, I just hit him as hard as I could. Didn't say a word. And then I was his friend after that. And then in 4th grade, this was all about the same time, I got in a fight with somebody at school. And everybody, I beat him up, but everybody stood for him. It was all because everybody saw me as a sissy or whatever the frig you want. So after that, I started fighting. I mean, I fought and I fought and I fought. And bottom line, it got to the point where, if they killed me, that was okay, because then I wouldn't have to deal with the transgender stuff. So I was probably a little bit over the top, and I probably did some things that I'm probably lucky that I should be here today. But I understand this stuff looking back, but at that point in time in my life, I didn't necessarily understand it. But the point I'm getting at is that I got through it, and I don't know how I got it myself. We were talking about Raji and what a superstar she is and how fortunate we are. Okay, I know I was talking about how Raji went through experiences and I went down a different road. She went down the road of being belittled and put down until she blossomed as the beautiful woman that she is. And then I'm 99% sure that the majority of all that stuff that she went through went away. But I'm not saying that straight men or people in different situations, because it wasn't acceptable, that she still didn't get some pushback, but she passed. So therefore, unless somebody knew her or was trying to be vindictive, life got better. The same as it does for us, but in today's times, people are a lot more lenient. They just really don't care. If you're not messing with them, you're not giving them a hard time, who cares? Then we got Ella. Now, you got to understand what Ella, she speaks 8 different languages. Maybe I'm saving the best for last. I don't know. She speaks 8 different languages. She's got citizenships in 3 different countries. She's a Swiss citizen, Portugal citizen, and United States citizen. She's lived in everywhere from France to Switzerland, all those places. I mean, Bahrain. I can't even sit here and do you realize that she's been in more? I've been in America all my life, and she's seen more places in America than I have throughout my whole lifetime. I mean, this woman has ants in her pants, and what's meant by that, she used to be on an airplane probably twice a month, gone for a week at a time. So she was probably gone a week, home a week, gone a week, home a week, and she did that year in, year out, and she did it as a woman in the last number of years. And to go to all these countries, the confidence that a person has to exhibit to go into a situation where you got all these men that are not so whatever. There's somebody at my front door. I wonder who that could be at this time of night. Anyway, Ella brings to the table the knowledge of how the world sees, feels, it's powerful I was talking about trans gurus earlier tonight and reading stuff, and I read something, I said, well, I never thought about it that way. Or, I don't know that that way is any better than this way, but it's still a good idea. And everybody's entitled to believe the way they want, think the way they want, and there is no right and there is no wrong. And all these boxes, I've been caught up in so many boxes this last 6 months. I've been breaking down boxes that I didn't even know existed. And what's meant by that? I'm in a situation, is it because I broke the box down that I'm going to think different about the situation? No. But I might look at it from a different angle than one that I was kind of conditioned to look at it as. And that doesn't mean that my decision is going to be any different. It just means that I'm perceiving it differently. Well, with Ella, she brings a worldly amount of people write in all different languages on Trans Gurus, and she answers them in their languages. Sometimes I think she enjoys it because she gets to converse. Anyway, and that's a real powerful I've only been in America. My world is real small. I'm like a sheltered. I'm not saying that I'm naive and that I haven't lived my life, but if you look at Ella, seen more places in America than me, been to all over the world. I mean, whether you're talking South America, you're talking Africa, UK, Britain, all those countries in there. She's seen a lot of different cultures in the way people think and the way people treat people. And I remember she was over there in India and wearing burqas, those outfits, I guess, like kind of like they show Muslims, and I guess it must be a Muslim country if they're wearing it, but where she was at in India, it wasn't about Muslim. I guess it's the custom in India. Anyway, she had her burqas on and she was proud. I mean, I've never even comprehended something like that, let alone being around people that thought totally different. So when I talk about Ella, she brings a lot of cultures and what she's seen and a lot of knowledges, and nothing really stumps her as far as if somebody asks a question, she definitely can answer the question. There's no doubt about it. And so the only one really left is me, and I transitioned going back real early 80s, maybe a little bit of the 79s. Anyway, I lived a life that theoretically there was this box, okay? I had a son. I didn't want to mess my son's head up. I raised him from the age of 5.5 years old on. He lived with me. And actually, as nuts as it is, the woman that I was with was a trans man and went on hormones, male hormones, for 2.5 years, and then had problems with hair growth, and she really liked men. This is my opinion. And when men stopped liking her because they thought she was a dude and she didn't want gay men, she wanted straight men, and I was already transitioned. So I mean, what I'm trying to say is life was different back then, and I was cool with a lot of stuff. Anyway, my point is that there's boxes, and I had a son and I wanted to provide a family for him, so I was with this person, and although there was other things, like I said, we had a lot of fun, and that was, some people could say the relationship was about sex and whatever, but I'm saying the relationship was there because I wanted to give my son a family, and maybe there was a lot of sex too, but I'm not trying to make it about the sex thing. I'm just telling you my journey. So my parents pretty much disowned me, whatever, and I could come home as long as I gave them a 14-day notice, and they made sure that nobody would be around and I wasn't seen in public. I was allowed to come back to the house. But anyway, so I went on and I started. Nobody would give me a job. Okay, nobody would give me a job. So I was selling Mr. Frosty, that's ice cream, like out of a truck. And Buddy said to me, you know how to fix all these things. And I used to work in a hotel, and they sent me to technical school so that I could fix the air conditioners and refrigerators and the gas stoves and all this other stuff, so that it saved on repairs. So I learned how to do all these things. And Buddy said to me that I started picking up used appliances on the side of the road, and I started fixing them. And if I sold this one for 50 and this one for 75 and this one I got 100 out of, and this week I sold 5 appliances to a total of $250 or $300 cash in 1 week, well, I was working real hard for pretty much minimum wage, and 40 hours. I was working a lot less hours and making a lot more money, and I started doing it more and more and more, and I started a business, and I became very successful. But here's the story. If somebody would have given me a job, I would have never been forced to go down that road, and I would have never reached the levels of success that I did as a result of working hard. So everything that happens to us, and I keep going back to this, is how you perceive it. What's there to learn? What lesson? What is it? I got to find the positive in this. There's something for me to grow as a person from all the things that have happened to me in my life, and I went down this journey. So anyway, I had this box, and being that my parents were that way, and my brother had cancer and was dying, and his kids, he wanted me to know him. I think they were like 12 and or 11 and 13, and I had never met him because he didn't want me to mess up his kids' heads because of the way I was. And I can understand back then, it was like that. But he was dying, so he wanted me to meet his kids. So when he was gone, I could be there. And so my dad, they were going to put him in a home. And he called me up and he said, can you please come back and help me? I need you. Now you got to understand, my dad, for him, I need you. Will you please come home? I liquidated my AC business, which was doing really good at the time. I installed 19 new systems the last month that I was in business. For a small person and trans and whatever, 19 systems was a pretty big deal. And you got to understand, at that point, I wasn't doing the work. I mean, I had people that did the work. I wasn't going to break my nails because I had nails back then. The only places I did do, and I will share this with you, is daycares, because children can read you. And I was the only one that did the daycares. I mean, if I had something else going on, but basically I wanted to do the maintenance in the daycares, because when the kids critiqued me, that's how I learned how to stand, how to move, how to bend, how to deliver, even my voice. I mean, all these things. And after about 4 years, I didn't have any more problems in the daycares. And it's all how you perceive it. I was on the phone the other day with a couple of friends, and we were on speaker, and it was a solicit call, and we were talking to him, having some fun, and he started sirring me. Now, the other 2 people with me got real offended, and no, I just perceived that I need to work on my voice more. I didn't take it as something to ruin my serenity. I didn't take it as something to get upset over. I took it as an experience to grow. As much as I've been working on my voice, I know I got a long ways to go, so please don't misinterpret like my voice it sucks. But it's going to get better, and I believe that in my heart that it's going to get better, because I put a lot of work and effort. And many years, there's habits that I've created throughout my speech, and I have to unlearn those and relearn like different patterns to become more and more natural. See, when you speak and you end a word up, women, well, a lot of times, if you had one of those machines that shows the pitch and the way it's going up and all that other garbage, anyway, women's voices go up at the end of a word, whereas I was exaggerating it there just for sound effect. But anyway, if you had a meter and you watched, you would see that women's voices do that. Well, you see, I'm trying to train myself. It's going to take me maybe a couple years before I naturally will at the end of words, I'm just trying to mimic the patterns. You see, and subconsciously, that's why children can peg somebody so easy, as they're able to kind of see through the smoke. And basically, if you get the pitches right and the words right, and you mimic a lot of the habits of a woman, when she, like, if you ever watch women, their lips, I'm telling you, watch the TV announcers, their lips really, really move. And when you watch their lips move, it changes the resonance in your voice. So if you're able to project to the front of your mouth and speak where your lips are just moving like there's no tomorrow, and if you smile, it helps raise the pitch because it raises your Adam's apple, which helps in the voice. And you see, I should speak more like this 24/7, but it takes work and it takes energy, and I'm willing to do it. But sometimes you fall back into old habits, and the more I keep practicing, the more I'll do it. And what I was speaking about was on the telephone when somebody said to me, sir, instead of getting upset, it just made me want to work on my voice more so that that won't happen. And someday, a lot of times I'm on the phone and my voice is real good and I pass, but apparently I must do subconscious things, or like the way my words end at the end, or maybe something, I don't know, little things that can trigger your voice. Plus, sometimes my voice, the resonance sucks. The pitch might be okay, but the resonance sounds just like a man, and it drives me out of my friggin' mind, and I hate it. And anyway, but you see, I use all that to motivate me to be better, to motivate me to try harder, to motivate me to I've accomplished so many things in my life. What better than to take this time in my life and work on self-improvement on myself? And if I can do that, I mean, I could sit there and watch TV and vegetate, or I could whatever, do something I'd rather work on myself. I have my sheet where I read every day a couple times. I do my meditation, and then I do my visualization, and I concentrate, and I do my exercise 4 times a week. I don't need to do more than that, and I try to stay away from carbs. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm on a path that is my own path, and it's working for me. And what I'm saying is, we all need to find our paths. And the part about my journey that I'm sharing is, some of my paths were a result of like nobody giving me a job because I was trans. But instead of accepting that and trying to get on SSI or go on welfare, I recreated myself and started doing appliances, and then I went into window units, and then I had window units was a big deal back then. They were very expensive, and I made a lot of money. And then I progressed into air conditioning, and then I progressed into commercial refrigeration, where there was a lot more money. And it was all about my journey. But you see, I'm the one that did all these things. And then when my father called me up because I was like this, and said, come back, well, I liquidated my business in 45 days. 30 days, and I moved from Tampa back down to Homestead in 45 days, And I had built a house there, a big double car garage, and doubled the size of the existing house. And I lost money on that too. But, to me, it was more important to be able. My father called me and wanted me to come back. I mean, come on. I don't know. What I'm just trying to say is, my brother said to me, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? You got your life, you got your business, you got everything. You're going to throw everything away?" Family sometimes can be something that, not that they have to be blood relatives, but this was my dad, you understand? He called me up and said, "I need you. Can you please come back and take care of me?" And I kept him alive for another 7.5 years. And he died 10 days after my brother. And I believe he died to go be with my brother. He had issues. He had a major heart attack that most people die in the first year. And he made it, 10, 11 years. Most people die in the first year after a heart attack like that. Anyway, he had a real good head on his shoulder and didn't stress himself out after his heart attack, and he was mellow and he lived. But he asked me to come back and take care of him. And listen, you got to understand something. When I came back, I was only 165 pounds, and every place we went, they go, "Oh, this is your daughter?" And let me tell you something. If I gave up a whole lot of stuff to come back to take care of my father, but to have somebody say, "Oh, this is your daughter," it was all worth it. Now, my dad would twitch and he'd whatever and go on because he never wanted to accept it. But anyway, so that, and then life changed. But my point is, everything that happens to us, don't ever give your pen to anybody else to write your story. It's your journey. Write it your way. Some chapters are going to be better than other chapters. Some chapters are not going to be as good. Some chapters are going to be really, really good, and other chapters. And I believe that if you can write it down and you can read it a couple times a day, and you can do visualization and see it, that it's going to happen, see it as if it has happened, and feel those emotions of it actually happening. The things that you can achieve in life, the only limits that are really upon us are the limits we put upon ourselves. No, I'm not saying that, I want to be a billionaire and I'm going to go. No, I'm saying that I had a lot of things being trans against me in a time back in the 80s, early 80s. We weren't accepted, but I was. I had doctors and lawyers that trusted me. I was very clean. I was conscious. I was really good at what I did. And that's how I got my self-worth back then, was if I could perform on this level, and I got all these. I had a TV announcer. What I'm trying to say, it's like all these famous people say, "Oh, I got a trans that does my stuff," so they probably spread my word around. But I got a lot of work from these wealthy, up-to-do people that respected me, and I was trans back then. The point I'm getting at is the vibrations that I put out into the universe are the vibrations that I got back in the 80s, early 80s. I don't know if I ever tell this, but I did have my SRS surgery back in 1984, January 19th. Anyway, I'm not trying to date myself, but it was a long time ago. And in the 80s, I felt really, really good with myself. And I'm going to tell you something else I did after I had my surgery, and I'm not trying to come across wrong, but I went in a totally nude strip bar and danced for 2 days. As I had puss. If that isn't validation, not that I wanted to go out there and be a whore, or not that I want, but I could actually dance out there naked and get away with it. And Yeah, I felt very, very good with myself. I felt very confident. And especially after surgery, people that hadn't seen me in a while, something's different about you. What's different? What'd you do? I didn't do anything, you know. It was just, I was different because I had went that thing. But understand, it's not for everybody. And I'm not saying, remember the box. There is no friggin' box. I was in that box because I wasn't with a man, because that would upset my parents. And back then, there was no such thing as transgender. You were just gay, queer, whatever you want to call it, and be ridiculed. So to stay out of that box, I was with a woman, although she talked like a man, kind of looked like a man, but she had a puss. But anyway, the point is, the journey can be very, very interesting if you so choose to experience what life has to offer and embrace it and find the positive in it. And yes, sometimes transitioning can be very, very difficult. I transitioned and it was really difficult. You know, I went from one day to the next day. Today, a lot of people will transition over a period of time and then come out. I was on a bridge with a 44 Magnum, and I decided I wanted to live. And the next morning, I caught a plane to San Francisco. Make a long story short, and I went from being up here on a pedestal as this whatever, and I don't normally ever talk about it, but you know, I don't know. Anyway. It doesn't matter. I went from here to sub whatever human. I mean, and people treated me differently, but I had to get along with it and had to deal with it, and I grew from it. And everything that happened to me, getting back to what I'm saying, is I used it to grow. And that goes with your attitude. And if you change your attitude, you change how you think about things, things will vibrate differently. How do you do that? You write it down on a piece of paper. You read it every single day. You do visualization as if it's already happened and you've experienced it, and you're experiencing reaching that level. And then you let it go and you go on with your day. And over a period of time, you can start to see life through a different set of eyes and perceive things that go along with what you're telling your brain. This is what I want in my life. And when your life is bringing it to you, whereas today you might not even know opportunity is knocking because you're not listening. But if you are listening and that knocking is happening, you'll be aware enough to listen. Say, oh, let me see that. That's just like what I was going back before about reading all these comments on trans gurus. The enlightenment that I get at this point in my life, even though I've been on a journey, is so different sometimes than I ever even conceived. But this has been a very, very long video, and I probably should stop rattling and just say I've introduced the panel, I've introduced myself. Feel free to tune in on Thursday nights and ask your questions. We'll try to answer them. You can instant messenger them to us. So when we start the program off, we'll already have questions that we'll start talking about. And other than that, everybody have a beautiful day and enjoy your evening. And life is as good as we can perceive it. And if you think about it, the clock keeps ticking. Whether you're mad, glad, sad, happy, whatever emotion you want, the clock still keeps ticking. So why not feel good? And why not be in a good place? And why not embrace and see life? Listen, every day you wake up, it's a gift, and you can perceive it any way you want. But, you know, all those years and all the work I did and all the stuff I did, I loved what I did, so I never felt like I went to work a day. I felt like this was my hobby and I was getting paid, and I enjoyed doing what I enjoyed doing. And all those things are very, very exhilarating when you look back on your life and the journey. But you also, if you're writing the pen that's writing the journey and you're the one that is holding it, not somebody else, then you can choose to smile as that clock is ticking, and you can choose to enjoy life and perceive things in a positive way, even if it's something that's not positive. Listen, I've seen a lot of people go through a divorce and, oh, life sucks and this and that. And after the divorce is over and they're able to be their authentic self, they look back and said, oh my God, what a blessing. Why didn't this happen 10 years ago? This is what I'm trying to say is, if you're holding your pen and you're in a place in life, now that doesn't mean that you shoot from the hip. You be smart about what you do, but the things that life sends you that might be in your control or out of your control, or a combination of both, how do you perceive those things that are thrown at you? And that will determine how you process things in life. And if you can process it positively and find something positive, you're going to have a positive evening and day. And I'm going to leave off, and I just want to thank everybody for listening, and I appreciate you being on here. And I'm sorry I haven't been babbling, and I don't know if Ella and all the other people are going to want me to take this video down, and if they do, I will. And if you think I should too, I definitely will listen, because I'm not the kind of person that's out there looking for attention. I just feel that, I need to give back. I've experienced so many things in my life, just like Raji, going back and our stories, and when you look at the journeys, and today things are so much different, and people see things through different sets of eyes, and I'm happy for the youth, but sometimes they complain about things and they don't even understand how hard it really was, and today how easy it is, and how they should be thankful. But that goes back to what I'm talking about, how you perceive things. And if you perceive things in a positive light, you will find the positivity, even though you might not understand it, you might not comprehend it, but if you're looking for a positive angle, it will manifest, because that's what the mind dwells upon, is what manifests. So manifest good things, manifest being happy, manifest life regardless of the situation. Just you go to work, you put the uniform on, you're not the uniform. People, when they talk to you, they're talking to the uniform, they're not talking to you. Now, depending on where you work, if you're in a place where you work with the same people every day, of course it's different. But if you're working with the public and the public doesn't really know you, they're talking to the uniform, they're not talking to you. So if you realize that's the way life is, you can put the uniform on, let people talk however they want, but you don't have to take it into your bubble. Basically, just like I was talking about, Shannon or Jimmy has that bubble. You can live your life and have that bubble and not take on all that negativity. And you can process all that negativity and say, wow, I'm glad I'm not them. Wow, I'm glad that's not my life. What I'm saying is we are in control of our emotions. And I have to stop because I keep going on and I keep finding more things to talk about. Y'all have a beautiful evening and have a Merry Christmas, although we'll be on before then. And hopefully your Thanksgiving was really good. And I just want to leave you off one thing: think positive, be positive, find the positive, and the more you focus on positivity, positivity will manifest, and pretty soon the more energy and the more you vibrate positivity, the more the universe is going to bring that positivity back to you. And in 1980, when I transitioned and I went through all that stuff, and I earned all my money, and I wasn't on my back. I went out and worked, and I actually did what I did and paid for everything myself. And I'm not looking for a brownie button, but what I'm just trying to say is that's the energy that I put out, and that's the energy the universe gave back to me in a time when we weren't accepted. And in today's times where people do accept transgender people, if you put out a positive energy, I personally can't conceive anything but positive coming back, but that's my experiences. Good evening, everybody.